the absence of Cristiano Ronaldo and saying, well, look, there you go. That's 50 goals a season that you're lacking this year. But as you say, you run off that team list. You run off a team that's got Isco in it, and Asensio and Bale and Benzema in it. It's a team that should score a lot of goals. I think they've been very unlucky at times, and certainly, of course, that's something that Julian Lopetegui has clung to. I think there have been moments where injuries have done them no favours at all. But the truth is that it's not functioning. They look sluggish. The chances they've created have largely been oversimplistic ones, just getting the ball wide and putting it in the box. They haven't really found a way behind things as much as they would like. I also think that they've got a little bit of a post-World Cup hangover, in particular in the case of Luka Modric, who of course went all the way to the final. And all in all, they're just elements of this that don't entirely work. Now, that's not to say they won't work for the rest of the season, but of course what happens as those results start to desert them is that the relationship between the board and the manager, and indeed, of course, between the manager and the players, starts to become deteriorated as well. So
Lopetegui has a contract worth €6 million net per year each year, and he's guaranteed he'll get €18 million regardless of whether he finishes in 2021 or if he finishes in the next few days. Is that much of a disincentive for Madrid to get rid of this guy, or what's the thinking, do we know?
No, that's not really a disincentive at all. Now, obviously, look, no club in the world wants to throw away €18 million just like that. They would, I think, anticipate being able to come to some sort of agreement, so perhaps avoid having to pay that kind of money. And actually, Real Madrid have not been splashing the cash over the last 3 or 4 years. I think that's been pretty clear in the transfer market. But the fundamental reason that Julian Lopetegui is still in the job is actually largely the main reason why he got the job in the first place, which is the lack of time and the lack of proper alternatives. Bear in mind that he came into the Real Madrid job in the aftermath of Zidane walking away. They weren't ready for that. They didn't have alternatives. They tried a number of names. I think Lopetegui was pretty much the 5th or the 6th on their list. And because they were in a hurry, and of course that's what provoked this entire battle with the Spanish Federation. Lopetegui was named just 2 days before the World Cup started. And as I say, that's partly the reason why he's still in the job now. Real Madrid are not convinced by him. Real Madrid's decision essentially is, right, we have to get rid of this guy, but there isn't the time to make the replacement. Now, the question mark then, of course, is what happens if results start picking up? In 20 minutes or so, they kick off against Victoria Fields, and the likelihood is they'll beat them comfortably. Then they go to the Clasico at the weekend. Now, there's always this sense around it that you don't want to bring a new manager into the Clasico because you can burn him if the Clasico goes badly. So then you keep the old manager and he kind of carries the camp for that, and then you can effectively start afresh afterwards. But of course, it's not impossible that Real Madrid win the Clasico, in particular with Leo Messi out with a broken arm. So if Lopetegui was to go and win the Clasico at the weekend, then that anticipation, that decision, which is we need to do something about this, then becomes much, much harder to actually execute.
Yeah, no doubt. Madrid are 7th in La Liga, still only 4 points off Barcelona. So in a way, it's still a bridgeable enough gap, even though they are in 7th. Has Lopetegui tried to do anything drastically different with the team? Are we hearing things about his style of management, or how he's going about his business?
Well, in a curious sort of way, this is one of the things that makes this whole run so strange. At the start of the season, even in pre-season, we saw a shift in style with Lopetegui. Very, very conscious that he wanted to have more of the ball. Very conscious that he wanted to press higher up the pitch. That he wanted it to be a more, well, the word that was always used in Spain was choral. A more collective approach to the way they played. And they were absolutely brilliant, playing very much in that style when they defeated Roma. But since then, it's fallen apart. And so what we've seen since then, I think, is Lopetegui trying to add some of the elements that they used to have to what he still wants them to do. And he hasn't really backed down from that idea. In terms of the relationship with players and the way that he manages, well, he's always been a slightly strange manager in that sense. He's not enormously charismatic. He has support, I think, from the majority of the Spanish players, but some of the other players are less pleased, in particular those who haven't played as much as they would have liked this season. Marcelo was pulled out again this season against Girona. We've had Modric rotated a bit, which personally I think is necessary, but doesn't always go down well. Toni Kroos has occasionally played in Casemiro's position and made a point while he was on international duty of saying, I'm not Casemiro. So I think there are one or two small tensions there, but I must say, I don't think those are tensions that are insurmountable. I don't think those are tensions that will continue if they start to pick up. I think it's a far more footballing explanation than a kind of internal politics explanation.
Sid, brilliant stuff. Thanks so much.
My pleasure.
Sid Lowe there from The Guardian with the latest from the Bernabeu. Appreciate the line wasn't great, but we just wanted to check in and see what the story was. Meanwhile, at Manchester United, if you're just tuning in short, it's an unchanged team from the team that played against Chelsea at the weekend. So De Gea's in goal. They have Luke Shaw and Ashley Young, captain Ashley Young, as fullbacks. Chris Smalling is alongside Victor Lindelof. And then it's a midfield of Pogba and Matic, with Juan Mata in the number 10 role just ahead of those two. And then it is Rashford and Martial either side of Lukaku. Ronaldo starts for Juventus, as you might expect. He was at Old Trafford last night, did the press conference, interestingly enough, and was asked about the ongoing allegations of rape which have been levelled at him, and it was put to him, this is a tricky time for him. He is a role model.
I know that I'm example. I know 100% in the pitch and outside the pitch. So I'm always smile. I'm happy, man. I'm blessed that I play in a fantastic club. I have a fantastic family. I have 4 kids. I'm healthy. I have everything. So the rest doesn't interfere on me. So I'm very, very glad. I'm happy, man. This is not we did the statement 2 weeks ago, if I'm not wrong. So I'm glad. Of course, I'm not gonna lie on this situation. I'm very happy. My lawyers, they are confident, and of course I am too. So the most important that I enjoy the football, I enjoy my life. The rest, I have people who take care of my life, and of course the true always coming in the first position. So I'm good.
Andy Mitten, editor of United We Stand, is with us. Evening, Andy.
Good evening.
Ronaldo, when he returned a couple of years ago at Madrid, got a fantastic reception, and I don't know if you saw the video. In a kind of break with tradition or the norm, the Real Madrid team were announced second, and Ronaldo was the last name announced, and the announcer said, and welcome him back. It's great. He's, got a warm welcome for Ronaldo, and the stadium erupted, and this was right in the stroke of kickoff. And I was just reading today, I hadn't realised it was Alex Ferguson who instigated that break with tradition. He wanted Ronaldo to receive a hero's welcome back at Old Trafford, which was a lovely thing to do in hindsight.
Yeah, I was there. I remember it well. And he received an ovation. People were singing his name. It will be slightly different tonight. It isn't his first time back. Manchester United in 2013 were a very good team. They're no longer a very good team. And Ronaldo, for many United fans, remains the best player that they have ever seen. Might not be their favourite ever player, but from a technical perspective, and for what he did, he was the best player in the world when Manchester United were the English, European and world champions. There are a few buts here. United fans have started to tire of the links between Ronaldo and the club every summer. They felt a little bit used, that he is the boy who cried wolf. But I've never seen a better footballer playing for Manchester United than Cristiano Ronaldo. And I've been outside the stadium all day. I've been speaking to fans, and there's flags and scarves on sale with Cristiano Ronaldo's name on them. People are buzzing off the game and off the prospect of watching Cristiano Ronaldo for an excellent Juventus side. This is the biggest game at Old Trafford in terms of two giants meeting since the Bayern Munich game in 2014. And I'm sure Ronaldo will enjoy it. I just hope that he's on the losing team.
There is the added complication of the allegations, and he's talking about them yesterday for the first time since he had his Instagram post. And, it's difficult for us to say too much about them. Obviously, everybody's entitled to due process, but some fans will have read his alleged victim's interview with Der Spiegel, and it's a very memorable interview, maybe is the best way to put it, that she gives. And so that is in the air as well. It's another complication. Generally, though, at stadiums, these kind of things, the hero is generally given good reception anyway in the midst of all these things.
Yeah, I think it will be a factor for some people. Other people will probably think until he's proven guilty, although even that statement is not as clear as it made out. I mean, I read most of the piece. It probably took 25 minutes to read it. I don't think that will be a major issue, rightly or wrongly, for the fans turning up at Old Trafford tonight. Maybe that's something that they'll talk about. Maybe it will become an even bigger story. I was very worried when I read it. I didn't like what I read. I'm sure it's going to run and run. But I think at kick-off point tonight, when the teams are coming out, I think firstly United fans will be up for seeing their team win. I don't think they'll be chanting Ronaldo's name and hoping that he scores a hat-trick. United have got bigger problems. Not as big as the problem we might have just have been talking about with regards to the Der Spiegel article. But The team is not as good as it was. Juventus are a better team than Manchester United. Juventus are probably favourites to beat Manchester United. And the last games that United have played in Europe against good sides, well, against Sevilla in February, they completely froze. Against Valencia a couple of weeks ago, it was 0-0, and Manchester United were very disappointing. So there's a feeling that fans want the team to turn up because it hasn't been happening. Are they absolutely convinced that that's going to happen? I'm not, because this Manchester United is very hit and miss. I thought they did well at Chelsea, especially in the second half. I thought they did very well coming back against Newcastle. But one of the more attractive sides of aspects of Manchester United this season is you've got no idea what's going to happen. It really is a soap opera. And for years, United fans were spoilt rotten. By turning up to games, you knew that the team would win. It was 2-0, 3-0, 4-1, 3-1. United would win 16 of their 19 home games, and they'd win the league. Being third would be an anomaly. Now, Newcastle United went 2 goals up inside 10 minutes. I mean, if that happens against Juventus, I don't think that Manchester United have got the quality to come back and score 3. Although the greatest game of football I've ever seen involving Manchester United, the scoreline was Juventus 2, Manchester United 3. That was in the semi-final of the 1999 European Cup away. And wow, when I think of that, I think, how good were Manchester United?
We share that thought process because Clive Tiddesley is going to be on the show later on reminiscing about that semi-final later on. 20 seasons ago, not quite the anniversary, but we'll say it's the 20th season anniversary. This current Juventus team, as you said, they're very, very good for obvious reasons. Mandzukic is out, but they've won every game so far in Serie A, bar the weekend just gone. I see on the Manchester United front, the Mail are reporting that Mourinho has opened an internal investigation to see if anybody is leaking the team lineup, because the Juan Mata inclusion at the weekend was leaked on social media on Saturday.
Yeah, this is not a new story. Teams have always leaked. I remember Louis van Gaal taking issue with a journalist because the journalist was putting the story out, and the journalist angle was, it's my job to do this. Yeah. And we had a similar issue in Russia where the England team was getting leaked, and that came out by a more obvious measure. That was a long lens photo taking a picture of the tactical formation ahead of the game. And I think there's 2 points here. The journalists felt that what they were doing was absolutely right, and yet the fans, or the majority of fans, felt that what they were doing was wrong because it could hinder the team. And I see both sides here. I get told the team more often than not, and I choose not to put it out there. It's good information to have. It can help shape what you're going to write. I don't put it out there because I sometimes feel it could help the opposing team, and I am a Manchester United fan. Also, there's a question of sources and protecting your sources, but people do talk. Players talk. When a player is left out of the team, he might tell his brother or sister or parent or agent that he's not playing tonight, and that Pogba's been dropped. And people just do talk. Yeah. And what tends to happen with the leaks is they might flourish for a while, and then they'll be closed off. But this isn't specific to Manchester United. There are leaks at every single football club in the world. I know that it drives managers crazy. It really does, because their best preparations can be left exposed. They lose the element of surprise. And if I was a manager, I would be very annoyed as well. But you're asking 30 people to keep their mouths shut. Yeah.
I haven't spoken to you in a couple of weeks. So a couple of weeks ago, it certainly felt like Mourinho was a result or two away from the end, and the whole thing seemed to be really in dire straits. And then the Newcastle reprieve happened, and then we had the international break, which almost takes a bit of the sting out of things. Where are we now, do you feel, with Mourinho and Manchester United, the big picture?
Since we spoke, the mood has changed because the victory against Newcastle, and also, and more so, the performance against Chelsea. Online polls among United fans 2 weeks ago, you were looking at 70-80% saying that Jose Mourinho should go, that he should lose his job. Yeah. That was never reflected at the matches, and I think I made that point to you. Yeah. There was always support for him at games. I spoke to Paul Scholes, and that interview was widely taken up. and I spoke to him before the Newcastle game, pretty much when there was a lot of despondency about, and Scholes, for all his criticism, said he hoped Mourinho did not lose his job. And I have always been of that opinion. And I feel now the mood has changed yet again. I'm seeing fans saying, we've got to back Mourinho. And part of me is thinking, you absolute hypocrite, you fickle person. I know what you were saying 2 weeks ago. Imagine if the club actually listened and just made decisions on all of these online polls. Well, one, Manchester United would have no players left, because at various stages in the last 3 years, Marouane Fellaini, Juan Mata, Ander Herrera, Romelu Lukaku, the whole squad would have been sold off by fans. So I'm glad someone at the club is taking a more long-term view.
Yeah.
I thought there's a very interesting side angle which has emerged in the last couple of days, which is Real Madrid's interest in Jose Mourinho, because he remains very popular in Madrid, especially among hardcore Madrid fans who stand behind the South goal. And Florentino Perez has always had a thing for Mourinho. So you've got this interesting angle now. What if Mourinho was to turn around and say, OK, you don't want me, I'll go to Madrid? I think a hell of a lot of Manchester United fans will go, oh, actually, because Madrid have got a better team than United. They might not be playing well, but that would be an extremely attractive job for Jose Mourinho. So he does have suitors. The win against Newcastle and the draw at Chelsea certainly hasn't papered over all of the issues. Manchester United is still adrift in the Premier League. The same issues remain. I know more goals have been scored in recent matches. I think there's been very encouraging signs with Anthony Martial. The fact that not only is he scoring and playing well, but that his relationship with Mourinho appears to be improving. If he was to sign a contract, the same for David De Gea, Luke Shaw has signed a contract. You can see all these little percentages increasing in Mourinho's favour. United beat Juventus, that will be a massive help to him. If they lose, you're knocking it back again.
One very last point then. Gary Neville made an interesting intervention around the time it seemed that Mourinho could be sacked that weekend regardless of the result. I think he was at the West Ham game for Sky, and he really took aim at the club hierarchy and effectively said, I mean, I don't have the quotes, but you could boil down what he was saying to, well, look, Mourinho's the latest in a line of managers here. The people running the club do not know what they're doing. I wonder, has that message been taken up by the fans? Is that the general sentiment around Old Trafford?
Gary's definitely influential, and I saw that the comments on the Friday night and after the West Ham game, and a lot of people would agree with him because they think he knows a lot more about the situation than him. And Gary's been pretty clear in his criticisms of where the faults lie at Manchester United. I don't think it's any secret. I don't think it's personal, to be fair to Gary. I think he is a United fan, just as Paul Scholes is, and he's very frustrated at watching this team that he served so well and was so successful flounder and be 7, 8, 9 points off the top of the league, despite paying top dollar on wages and for players. And I think he's well within his rights to have that opinion. Manchester United's recruitment, as Gary has pointed out, has been patchy. Great players have come to Old Trafford and suddenly, within months, looked very, very average players. And if that's happening, you want to know why.
Andy, enjoy the game. Thanks a million.
Thank you.
Off the Ball on News Talk.
I'm Des Cahill, and I was lucky that my career in journalism coincided with the greatest era in Irish sport. Now I've gathered my tales from Olympic Games, World Cups, Ryder Cups, All-Ireland finals. It also contains my life story and tales from my career as a news reporter. Published by Trinity Mirror, the book is called Play It Again, Des, and is available now from bookshops.
Your expectations for this radio ad are probably, well, indifferent. You were expecting another generic voiceover, but instead, you've got me. Similarly, every so often a car comes along and your expectations are redefined. The new Mazda 6 is so perfectly crafted, it redefines a whole category with its groundbreaking design and swathes of luxury features. Experience it for yourself at your local Mazda retailer or at Mazda.ie. The new Mazda